Welcome, welcome, welcome. 7 o'clock on April 5th, 2022. Another Marketing Made Easy. My name is Joey Ragona. It's good to see you. And we are in for another treat for another Tuesday. I am so grateful that you're here watching us, and I encourage you to join in the conversation because tonight, as always, we're going to have an amazing conversation to help you build your business, to talk about marketing, mindset blocks, all of that stuff that kind of gets us tripped up when we're building a business. And I want to bring in my good friend, as always, Scott Vogel, the marketing solution dude, is in the house.
Hello, Joey. What an incredibly amazing opportunity to be here with you on this April.
Man, and I heard a little bird told me that it was an amazing or starting of an amazing weather-wise day for you in your part of the world today.
It was the first time, and I can't remember how long, that I blew off yoga today. And I went with a friend, and we went to the river, and we took a walk bare feet, and just sat in the sun, and it was just like, this is life. This is, the command center that I sit with and engage with all the time, and the importance of getting away from it and being with somebody you care about, and just, yeah, it's amazing. Thank you.
Isn't it? It's just the way, and that's part of what we build towards. And it's not like an end goal. It's like, well, finally I've reached freedom, or finally I've reached happiness, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's the constant thing, and it's part of uh, where I believe, and I know you do too. But I'll let you speak to that. Is inserting that into your life now, not waiting. Is doing as much as you can today and building that freedom and happiness, or yeah, building that freedom into your life now so you can just enjoy the journey rather than being, bogged down in the mud of the journey of entrepreneurship, because as we both know, it can be pretty tough.
Well, I'm going to jump right on that one, Joey, because it is pretty tough. And today, for me, was kind of a pivot. You and I have been talking about this. I've spent the last almost 2 years, like all the time, nonstop, moving away from that life of freedom. And what do I want to do today? Nothing. I'm going to go play with the tomato plants. I'm going to go play with the garden. I'm going to play with the garlic. I'm just going to do nothing. I'm going to do yoga, and afterwards I'm going to go hang out. Whereas the last almost 2 years, every day has been pretty much full throttle, and the anti-dream life. I've led the dream life for many years, and then I got into this and like, okay, let me build this thing up, and then I'll go back to my dream life. And then I got to a point where it's like, you know what? You and I spoke last night, and it was like, enough's enough. Because we had talked on a show, I don't remember which one it was, but it was about this topic of, okay, the pivot. When do you make the pivot? How do you make the pivot? And as always, you pushed me as I push you, and you're like, when? And I said, okay, by June 19th, if this thing isn't where I need it to be, I'm going to make the pivot.
Right.
Well, June 19th came a couple of months early. And that's why it's time for anybody listening who's struggling with okay, I've got to get up and I've got to go in because I got to get this thing done, and I got to get this built, and I got to get this, and I got to get this launched, and I got to, and I got to, and I got to, and I can't, no. We'll take care of that when. I'll get to that when. I'll take some time off when. As soon as this thing is. And I used to live like that many years ago. When I finally make enough money, I'll take some time off. When I finally have the success, then I'll. And then one day I woke up and go, well, what happened to all of that time? I mean, I was blessed that I never did that with my son. That was, I took him to school, we did homework by the water, and that was priority. But the last 2 years have been, okay, let me get this. And in that, just constantly engaged.
Yeah.
And today was the first time I disengaged from everything.
And how did that feel?
So spiritually soothing, refreshing, wonderful. And I think I told you over the weekend I was playing with some different things with the yoga studio, and what I love and what I want to do. that I'm not getting paid for. I'm actually paying to do it in a sense. And it's just like, oh, I love this. There's a fundraiser happening at the end of this month to support Sexual Violence Month. April is Sexual Violence Awareness Month. There's a charity one of the teachers is involved with, which is to end sexual violence of all kind. And I was putting the flyer together, and I was like, bringing me such happiness and joy. And I hung a flag on the side of the studio, and I got a message from the owner. It says, "The flag represents your love and vibrancy of intentions." Just gorgeous, colorful
Love it.
flag. And I'm like, yeah, this is what this stuff is about. And you know that I've gone into huge debt for this company that I've been building, and it hasn't panned out yet. And finally, I was like, okay, enough's enough. Let me go back to doing what I love, which is what we do, talking about marketing, helping people with their copy, their funnels, their mindset, what we talk about, their marketing, just everything about it that you and I talk about all the time based on what we've read, what we've experienced, what we've
Right.
learned. And I was talking to you earlier. It's like, yeah, I've launched over 100 products in the last 2 years, built I don't know how many funnels, written how many emails and copy and landing pages and VSLs and scripts and copy and blah, blah, blah. And we talked about this on another show. None of that I did do I regret, and none of it's for naught. It's still a company that's going to grow and be sold, and it's still alive. It's just I need to be alive now, and I wasn't. I'm alive on Tuesday nights. It's like, hey, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about marketing. And you did and again, congratulations on your Friday call you did with the Dream Client Connection with the Kajabi people. And it was just such a joy and a
Thank
treat,
you.
a pleasure and an honor to be there and watch you helping people
Thank
and
you.
you're sharing with them. And it was interesting because you and I have been conversing with the gal from Kajabi, and it was like, well, what would happen if everybody anywhere understood this dream client connection? Forget about just Kajabi, but I don't care where. If everybody understood what it was like to have a dream life with a dream business, hanging out with people you love.
Yeah.
We hang out with people we love in the group, on the calls, on tonight. And I live in here in my studio here with people. And hello, Petra and
Yep,
Monica.
you're absolutely right. Petra's here. Good morning, Petra.
That's
Um,
Monica, by
that's
the way.
Monica. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Hi, Monica, who does our amazing graphics every time inside the Facebook group. So thank you for all of that, Monica. She's a
What a
huge advocate for what
talented
we're doing.
artiste. That is just beyond me. I have challenges drawing a stick man.
Yeah.
And
And
when
the
I
funny thing is, it's like me too now, but I used to be able to draw. I used to be able to draw Spider-Man and comics and all that. And I don't know what happened. I just lost it. But hey, whatever. That's
Well, why do you
another.
think I've created video software? Because it enables me to be really creative and take other people's stuff and just do things with it. So what are we talking about? Wait, before we talk about what we're talking about, for those of you who are not part of the Facebook community, you need to join the Heart Centered Marketing Club. If you're listening to us live, hashtag live. If you're listening to us on the replay, hashtag replay. We are broadcasting live pretty much on all the social media channels in the known multiverse currently, YouTube, all the Facebooks, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever else we're on. And hello, Lorna, as well.
I just put the link in for the Facebook group if you wanted to join us. If you're not in there and you're a heart-centered entrepreneur that just wants to join an amazing community of support, love, guidance, and even vulnerability. It's a very, very safe place in there. I'm very honored that it is, and it's so incredible. So if you're looking for a place like that, this is where you join us. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is, and thank you for being vulnerable yourself, Scott, and bringing us up to date on some of the story of where you are in the past couple of years. We've mentioned my story many, many times of the last, 2019 or 2016 to 19 and all that. And maybe you're kind of in that same zone and now, on your way out of it, which is amazing, out of that dip. And so I just wanted to share what I learned over those since that time, since 2019, and rebuilding the business to where it is today. And I wrote down three of the main things because I get asked this question quite a bit. Like, what did you learn? And I've narrowed them down to three important messages or lessons, and we've talked about them around about in the individual things, but I wanted to wrap them into this one thing. So I'm going to start out with a little bit of an exercise with everyone here, and I'm going to do the old Brendan thing, and I'm going to show that I've got these things here. So these are the three things, and I'm going to let you write those down, and maybe if you want to, maybe put a guess inside the chat of what you think those are. And please, if you're in my private groups, you're one of my clients, and in the Atlas thing, don't play because you already know the answers.
Hey,
Um,
Joey, how come you went with the flashcard method instead of your technology? You were like so techie when we were talking before the call, and now you just put up a
well,
card.
that was already built before because I just wanted to play around with these things, but I still have my old tech over here. I'm still, flashing around. I can switch all of our stuff here. This is the tech I was talking about. All this fancy stuff here. Okay. Now that you threw me off track, let me try to get back on track again.
Well, what
So,
do you mean back on track? Pick up your flashcard and read the thing. You were saying none of my clients, no elites, no atlases, nobody can answer that. It's those people that are not. And that is Monica, by the way,
oh,
again.
thank you, Monica.
In this group, you can be totally authentically you, no holds barred, and get amazing support. Wow, that's a pretty good description of the Heart Centered Marketing Club.
And Petra, we talked about this earlier on today, and here we go. We bring you bring it up, and Scott was like, "I got to replace the picture," and here we go.
Okay, Petra, I will make a commitment. Actually, my son is an amazing photographer. He's coming here tomorrow. I will actually shave and have a picture taken tomorrow. So pardon me, I'm going to go to one of my screens and make sure that he brings a camera to take my photo. Thank you.
All right, so we are
Okay,
talking
we
about
are talking
we're
about.
talking about these. These are the three things I want to talk about today. So we'll talk about number one first. Does anybody have an idea of what number one is? Number one. This is I think the biggest lesson, and I'd love to see if anybody
Well, what
has
are we
a.
talking about in general, Joey? I mean, what's the
Well, these are the three lessons that I learned from a failing business. When I went from
okay?
um, you know going from 2016 to 19, going down the hard, fear-based, pushy marketing things. The business was failing, and it was just about trying to get sales, like just trying to sell stuff.
Right.
So this was and okay, so Petra, you already know the answer. You're cheating. But
Wait
yeah,
a second.
that's
Wait. Is Marie Schlemm? Is she a cheater?
no, she's not. And it's a
Okay, well,
great,
she got answers here. So
great answer, by the way, Marie. Thank you for playing along. Petra's cheating. She knows.
Petra always cheats. That's who Petra is. Just kidding, Petra. I love you.
We're just kidding around. But that's what it is. It's this one here. Build the tribe first. That's number one.
Joey,
Build
that's
the
like
tribe
really
first.
impressive, by the way.
Pardon?
Your little flashcards are very cute.
Thank you.
I like it. It's a pattern interrupt thing from your
Thank you.
technology stuff.
We wouldn't call you actually, no, we would call you out. If you're a cheater,
We
we'll
call you
call you.
out. No,
We'll call you
they-
out. But I love you. That's awesome. Thanks for playing along. So build the tribe first. This is the biggest lesson that I always talk about, and in a roundabout way. And do you have any input or questions about this, or do you want input on this? What your thoughts are, anything like that? Let me know, Scott, please. Because
Well,
I
I'm in full agreement. I built a tribe. We've got a tribe of 400 people who have been loyal to us for years, and it started out building a tribe. I was fortunate; I inherited the tribe, but I built a tribe also. You have to build a tribe. And Marie, I like her TR as well. Build trust, because you cannot build a tribe unless you build trust.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be part of your tribe if they don't trust you. So she gets points for that, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. And your answer is like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Is peppered throughout these three things, Marie. So you're like
Yeah,
right on. And you'll see that what I'm talking about as we go through these three tips. And um, I think that the tribe, in the way that I did it or look at it, and it was again suggested to do this 10 years ago and ignored it, was about dream clients. And this is where I find a lot of trouble, where people are trying to build businesses and they don't have a real tribe. It's just about, I have a list and they're cool people, but they're not the tribe. And the hardest part about this lesson is the first part. Like do that first rather than try to sell something and then bring those people in and then you build your group and your tribe and all that, because it's backwards and it's counterintuitive. But when you focus on the people and the who's and everything we've been talking about for the last 2.5 years almost now, uh, that builds the tribe. And I want to be very clear about this. You're not, she didn't say she's cheating. Oh, okay. Very cool. I apologize. I'll take it back. I listened to your answer video for who asked about the three things. So it's kind of cheating. It's kind of cheating. Right? So I'm just gonna call it as it is. um, anyway, that's what I meant. Is like if you've never heard me talk about it before, take a guess at it. I'm just messing around with you.
Joey, before you continue on, because I believe that there will be some people watching who will say, well, that's great. You guys have built a tribe and you did this. And how are you going to build a tribe? Well, it's like we did. We started with you and I chatting with, I think, Monica and Petra, and you build a tribe one person at a time. You don't go out and say, okay, I'm going to build a tribe. Where do I find 100 people or 200 or 500?
That's where I was going with this. You're exactly right. Is a tribe doesn't mean thousands. A tribe could mean two.
Yeah,
And you're absolutely right, Scott. So continue with
yeah,
that thought. I just wanted to make sure that, because you're right. When people hear that, they're like, wait a minute, and they're thinking of like this huge group. Eventually gets to that group, but a tribe to me is like two people. That's cool, and you just keep going.
yeah. We talk. Brandon Burchard, who did the program the afternoon Friday after you did. Brendan Burchard, if you look at his marketing stuff, whatever, 100 million followers and this many millions of this and that and that. But let's go back to his story of when he was in that car accident and was ejected from a vehicle somewhere down in, I think, South America or something. And he saw his life flash before his eyes. He didn't have a tribe. But then he realized in his story, again, he was on a bed with a three-legged table, and his girlfriend got in the bed and pushed the bills aside, and he didn't know what to do. Now the guy's got hundreds of millions of followers and dollars and that. Every single one of these people started with one. It's like when someone says, I made my first sale, it's like, okay, it's all up from there. You don't start with, oh my God, I didn't sell 100 units today.
Right, right.
If you sold one and helped one person, which will lead to number 2 on the list.
Number two is this one, and
Yeah.
Petra, you can't answer because you already know the answer. All right, which is this? Number two is, if you got a guess, I'd love to see it. Marie, you can play along here, and anybody else, love to
While
see it.
they're thinking, Monica has a comment here. I love it that you think I've been here from the beginning, Scott. I came earlier last year, but hardly missed any of these.
Because we're looking for number two, by the way.
Number 2, by the way, number 2, Sir Blank. And the answers coming in.
You're absolutely right, Petra. You
Yeah,
are absolutely
you
right.
are the hardcore. Actually, you did name the Tuesday show because I don't know how many iterations. I don't even remember. We got to go back one day to the first couple of shows because we changed the name probably 3 or 4 times.
Marie, I love you. Like, you are so amazing playing
Yay,
along here.
Marie!
This is so cool. Yeah, you're like really close. Uh, and she kind of hit it, and here it is.
Serve,
Serve, don't
don't
sell.
sell.
And that is a huge, huge piece of what I still do to today.
Yay, Marine.
So points there, points all around for
That's
everybody.
20 points, Marie, even though the points don't matter.
Exactly, the points don't matter. Uh, and and so let's talk to this. Let's talk to this a little bit, and we'll come back around because I just want to put them out there first, and then we'll have conversations around this. And please, if you have a feedback or conversation or a question about this, please put it in the chat because we'd love to welcome you into this conversation as well. What does it mean to you, Scott? Serve, don't sell.
Showing up and providing value and helping people as though it didn't matter whether you got paid or not, that you didn't sell anything. And Petra added here without expectation.
Right on.
You and I have shown up consistently to serve, to help. You know that I used to get on calls all the time, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to start doing it again. I'm going to go back to playing with what I love, because the more I serve people and don't sell, the more I'm going to sell, because I don't have to sell. I've never sold ever. I've never had to say, well, which option would you like? Would you like this option or that option? Would
So
you like
why does that work?
Why does it work? Because when you help people truly from the bottom of your heart, when you love people, and it works because the industry as a whole teaches people to sell, and you read selling books and you go to selling workshops and you buy selling programs that teach you the neuro-linguistic programming and the sales scripting and what to say when they do this and what to say when that. You don't have to have any of that when you just serve first. When you get on, it was like, for an example, there was somebody in the group last week who posted and was looking for some help. And you scheduled the call, but I jumped on with him before, just because I looked at his stuff and knew he was so far off track. He
Right.
wasn't even in the neighborhood of serving. He was like trying to sell, but not even doing a decent job at that. And I had to get on because it would hurt me, it would bother me to not help him, knowing that I could help him, to put him in at least a right direction, a right path, a right mindset, as we talk about. I got to sell, I got to sell, I got to sell. I got to figure out how to sell. I got to figure out how to write copy that sells. I got to figure out how to do this that sells, and all the programs and books and courses of this that sells. No, you show up, you serve, you help them, and you give them a result in advance for nothing. And they're like, oh my God,
Right.
what would happen if I actually paid this person
Right.
to help me? What would I get then? You'd get the same, only a lot more focus, a lot more attention. And that's the value transformation. Transformation has to happen when somebody makes a commitment, because if it's free all the time, but in the beginning, it's what you and I have done. That's how we met. We were both serving in a group.
Well, I think it's still part of our lives. It's not, in the beginning, like you said, there's different ways of doing things for free and you build that kind of stuff up. But I still totally believe in giving more complimentary free things that can still help people, because the back end of the business is healthier because the right people are coming in. This all comes back to building the tribe. If the tribe is right, and then as we bring number 3 in, this will all kind of wrap in and go, I got it.
Well, Joey, when you go to buy a new automobile, which is the second largest purchase that somebody will make in their life, you don't walk in and sit down and they try and sell you. What do? They put you in the vehicle and you take a test drive, and you go and you get to experience what it's like to test it.
Well,
When
I don't know about that. They are trying to sell you. I would say they're
Well,
trying to sell
they
you.
are, but the sales process involves a
Yeah.
test drive. It's, giving something for free.
Yeah, for sure. But there's still a lot of high pressure stuff. Like, what do I need
Okay,
to do to get you in the
fine.
car today?
Be that way. I'm leaving. No.
But yeah, like I wouldn't. Yeah, that one is a tough example for me to completely 100%
Well,
agree
then
with.
you come up with an example.
Well, the example
I'm
is what we
kidding,
do.
Joey.
That's it. It's even
You
on
by the way,
Friday with giving.
I'm gonna truncate you. You shared with me last night, and we spoke today, and you're like, okay, Scott, you're really good at this auditing of and somebody's funnel, their opt-in page, their lead magnet, their copy, their that. Why don't you just get a bunch of people on and show them what you do, help them
Right,
out in advance,
right,
and then say, oh, by the way, I got this thing if you're interested in.
right. That's an example. And it's a non-pressure thing. It's demonstration of your superpowers, and they walk away with a win. And then we gotta give number three because I don't want to spoil it because this conversation will come all around to
Okay,
make
go
sense.
with
So
number three.
so
Just
let's
be
let's
love.
first address this one. I find it difficult to find the areas where I can serve because when I keep it all subject related, how to make the most amazing chocolates you can get, I can easily give away the farm. So I want to find areas how to expand that subject a bit. Th- um, well, there's a million ways that you could do this, and one of them is how to choose the best chocolate to be using. It's not like how to what do you say? Amazing chocolates you can get. Like, so what are you doing? Are you showing how to create the chocolate in a format or in a mold of some kind? Like, whatever it is you're doing, there's steps to get there. How to choose the best chocolate, those kind of things. Where
But
you're,
it goes, Joey, it goes even further from there because once you learn how to make the most amazing chocolates, that's when the journey begins.
but
Because
that's her business, as far
no,
as I
what I'm
know.
saying is when she teaches somebody how to make the most amazing chocolates, that's just the beginning of the journey for the person that's making the amazing chocolates. Because once they know how to make amazing chocolates, they can make more amazing chocolates. And then they can add things to the chocolate and they can play with the chocolate. And once she teaches them the actual formula, the system, as we talk about, then they can go, oh, I know how to do this now. Once somebody understands how to write a copy bank, once somebody understands how to go research, once somebody knows the dream client and they understand that, and they're not with an avatar anymore, now all of a sudden they can go, oh, okay, this makes sense. I now have this piece of information. And then they can go even further. I
Yeah,
make,
it's true.
I've been making, I was taught how to make an energy bar. My son gave me the recipe. I made it. I'm on version 8. I'm going to make version 9 tomorrow, and it's going to keep going because the same thing with chocolate. What kind of chocolate? I spent 2 years learning how to make my own maple chocolate because I didn't want to use sugar. 2 years. I made like hundreds of them. So for Marie, I believe that she can keep serving when she realizes that there's so much more than just.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And
I know.
the if that's the final of the business, Marie is. Let me give you an example from this cooking thingy, because I'm a simpleton when it comes to cooking. I'm not a chef like
You
like
use a
Scott.
microwave, Joey.
Yeah, I wanted to know how to make like restaurant style scrambled eggs, like the simplest things. Theirs is always fluffy and like awesome. Like when you go to the buffets or something and they're just so awesomely fluffy and they're just I like a little bit of uh, wet scrambled whatever. And just that little secret
Joey,
to
they're
me was
called loose, by the way.
they're called what?
Loose.
Loose, okay, whatever it is, and just watching one little video of putting butter in the pan, which like duh, I didn't know, and then secondly, putting a little bit of I do water, like a little bit of thing of water, and I felt and then another one was like you can also use milk, it'll do this way. And that one little tip was like I make the best scrambled eggs in the world, okay? And so if I was wanting to learn how to cook more, Marie, then that would be the introduction. That would be a win for me. So if you can take that example and say, well, what's something that I could really teach them about chocolate that gives them that little tip that just use butter and water a little bit and it'll fluff up the eggs and you'll be happy. Those are the kind of things that you serve with.
Joey, would you put up her next comment? Because I think that will Well, Monica said something. Do we want to go to
Yeah, but
Monica?
I'm going to go because you said with her, and then we'll come back to Monica.
Okay, a lot of it is part of the course as well. What I also do is to change their consciousness about chocolate. That is another subject area. What I also notice is that so far, mainly people buy who know me from somewhere else. Ooh, that kind of goes to number one, building tribe and trust. And so now I start being more personal in a way. I'm going to give an example of for my whole life, I associated cocoa as chocolate, sugar, Nestle's, Hershey's, Hershey Kisses, chocolate bars, cocoa not good. It was only a few months ago that I realized how good cocoa is for you. So that was the first thing for me. Now I play with cocoa and coconut oil and coconut and organic ingredients, and that's just the beginning. So
Yeah.
where does she want to go with this?
We're going to come back to this, Marie. We're going to circle back to this because I want to have this conversation with you, but I want to get to number 3 as well.
Okay, let me
What?
read Monica's. What a cool subject, Marie. You can easily expand on it. For example, chocolate fondues, chocolate parties, making chocolate parties at birthdays, a baby shower, bridal showers. You can even have them online. You can have people participate in creating with your recipes, etc. Yeah.
Excellent example.
So Marie
Excellent.
says, yes, that's what I'm fighting against as well. What is she fighting against?
Yeah, let us know. And also, here's number 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, have we gotten to number 3 yet, Joey?
Put this in if you know the answer to this. Respect their what? Okay. And again, all my tribe members who know this answer, please do not answer. I'd like
Come
to
on,
know.
Marie, get the answer right. You can do it, Marie. I have faith in you. This one's worth 5,000 points, by the way,
Do
Joey.
you know the answer to this, Scott?
No, I don't know anything.
Okay.
I wait for you to give me the answers, and then I make believe like I know what I'm talking about.
So here's what we got so far. We've got this one, number 1, which is
Build the tribe first, one
all
at
right.
a time.
Then we've got this one,
Serve, don't sell.
and we got number 3. 3's coming up.
Respect
Anybody?
their
And number 3 is this one here.
respect their
Yeah, respect there. It's a tricky one.
while the countdown timer is ticking, the Jeopardy music, do 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 do. Marie says Hershey's in the lot, plus thinking that chocolate makes you fat, etc. Exactly. I had
Yeah.
that misconception forever.
Respect their pain points. I'm not even going to put Petra's up because she's yeah,
Is
because she
Petra
got it. But
cheating
yeah,
again?
this is right. This is cool, and Petra's absolutely right. Respect their timeline.
Aha.
Respect their timeline, and now you can see how they all come together because it's build the tribe first. It is serve, do not sell, and then it is respect their timeline.
Joey, I really like your presentation this evening. It's very personal.
Thank
As
you.
opposed to the Mr. Techno Wizard. Let me bring this up onto the Obi-Wan Kenobi screen. Respect their pain points, Marie says as well. I
Yeah,
kinda
which is
like
a
that too.
fantastic guess, and that's true too.
Yeah.
But what I learned is to respect their timeline, and that is relates all the way back to if you go backwards, it'll be like, okay, respect their timeline. Well, what do I do now? They've come into my tribe, or they've come into my email list, or they opted in and they didn't buy my 4-day cash machine thingy. Like, what do I do? Well, you know what? Serve, don't sell. So
Yeah,
if you're not
close
respecting the
key point.
timeline, go backwards and say, just let's serve, let's keep serving them. And if they're not engaging or anything, then maybe I don't have the right tribe.
Yeah. Well, Marie just asked, how do I figure out their timeline? And the answer is you don't.
Yeah. I'll give you a stat that I learned from Dean Jackson to give you this, to give you a mindset to go around. But you're right. Scott is absolutely right. You have no idea of what their timeline really is, but there are stats around it. That is when, let's just take 100 people that opt into your list. 50% of those people, 50 people will never buy from you at all. So they're
Mhm.
completely gone. The 50 left over, of those 50, the people that will buy of those 50 will buy usually within the first 90 days. And that's where everybody concentrates. They focus on how do I get money now? Okay. And there's a very small percentage that will buy now. The
Hmm.
remaining people of those 50 who and the other ones who bought,
The 50 of the 50 is 25% of the original for those keeping track at home. Yes.
yeah, it's just so the other people will buy within again of people. It's not all those 50 people. Of those people, the people that we're going to buy, which we don't know who they are and we don't know when, will buy usually within 18 months. And that's where my brain is always at. And that's why it's like, okay, um, how do I just continue to serve? And I've proven this now, this theory, because I've shown my Atlas students actual timelines of people who have bought and when they first messaged me about something. It wasn't about Atlas, it was just an engagement email. And then around 6 to 8 months later, they engaged again, maybe answering, or no, it was, I think it might have been about, yeah, which is another engagement of some kind. And then a couple months later, it was like responding to an Atlas invite email, and bang, they're a buyer. And if you looked at the timeline of purchasing Atlas, it's like 3 days. And you could focus in. You know how you get the vanity metrics, right? And you can say,
Yep.
look at me, like I can sell people in 3 days. Well, it's not absolutely true. So I went back and looked at all the purchases, and that's basically what happened. It would basically take a year for someone to come into my world, and then they would go, I'm in.
Marie, what would happen if they did get to know you first? What if there was a something of value that they got from you? And Joey, I'm going to give an example too that this reminded me of the three. Uh, I remember when I was playing with doing Zoom calls with people, and I
Yeah.
would just get on and do number two. I would just serve. And I remember I was on the call with a gentleman. In 15 minutes, I was able to rewrite his copy, and it blew him away. And he goes, "Okay, I'd love to engage with you." And it was around the July 4th holiday because he was going away. And I said, "It's going to cost you this much money." And he goes, "Oh my God. I have never spent that much money ever on somebody as my coach, consultant, etc." And I
Right.
was like, "Okay, fine." And he goes, "Let me think about it." He comes back from his vacation and goes, "I thought about it and I just can't do it." I'm like, "That's fantastic." I said, I hope you found value in this." And a couple of months later, he calls me back and he goes, "Okay, I'm ready. I finally gotten over it and it's time for me to do it." So the timeline was, if I had tried to pressure him into it, to sell him on it, then it doesn't work. It's too difficult. It's too pressure filled. And it's not heart centered. It's not truly serving.
Yeah, and I think there's one quote that I love that I heard from a friend of mine, and she said it brilliantly. That it was,
You have friends? I'm jealous.
she said, if you drag them in, you
Yeah.
need to you end up dragging them around.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard it that way, I was like, this is absolutely brilliant because we can sell them, we can NLP
Yeah.
them, we
Yeah.
can objection handle them,
Uh-huh.
and then it's like exactly what she said. You dragged them in and you end up dragging them around. Like,
Well, it's
come
like
on, go through the
you,
course, come to
what
the
what's
thingy.
what's stopping you from making this decision today? And
Yeah,
what would your life be like? And what would happen if you don't do this today? And what would it mean to your family and your business and your life if you don't do this today? And if you don't start blah 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 and blah blah blah. And it's like it's almost guilting them into it. And
yeah,
that doesn't work.
yeah. Well, like, it does work to some degree, but is it long standing? No. Is it
It's
for
not
heart
long
centered
standing.
people?
Do you want
No.
to hang out with those people on a dream island, on the oasis, and hang out with them and love them? And no, because they're like, it's like it's like everyone that comes to you, Joey, has been sold, and they end up coming to you because you don't sell. And time again, they say the reason I love you, Joey, the reason I'm part of this is because you didn't try and sell me. You just tried to help me.
Right. And that comes back to number two, which is if you're just joining us, we've talked about the three things that I've learned, and hopefully you will help. It'll help you, which is serve, don't sell. And this is a tough one because I know that when you're in a financial situation and you're trying to make money and you're not getting anything in, that serving and giving things for free doesn't help the bank account at all. But my what I learned from this was I already was in that situation before 2016. I was already in the I need to make some money here. And I went down the other routes of, well, here's what these other guys are doing. And it didn't work. It actually really destroyed my business and destroyed the tribe, if there was a tribe at that point. Like, what is all this stuff? Like, what is these pushy thingies? Like, final 4 minutes, you better get in now. Like, holy crap. Send 8 emails on the last day. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, wow. And then send the Monday email. Like, oops, something broke.
Oops.
You can
Oh
still get back in.
no.
Like, come
Not
on.
everybody could get in, so
Yeah.
we're extending it for another day. Joey, I would be willing to guarantee that if you just started showing up and serving and giving value and helping people, even in what we talked about today, building an effective lead magnet or whatever we want to call it, a gift, the freebie opt-in, let's call it, that you just give such tremendous value and you give away your best stuff. And it's like, well, how can I give away my best stuff? Then they'll know everything. There's no way they can ever know anything. It's like if Marie taught me that chocolate is not fattening and told me why and the benefits of cocoa and where cocoa comes from and what is the best cocoa to use, that in itself is just going to start to change my mindset, which, as you said in the beginning of the show, we talk about marketing mindset and what systems. Is that the three things we talk about here for the last 2.5 years?
I guess
I
something
don't
like
know. Who
that. I
knows?
don't even
Who knows what we talk about, right?
uh,
Let's did we Monica said she loves your presentation, Joey, and she loves you. It reminds her of her
Thank you.
old teacher. You look like her old teacher too, she says.
Oh,
So
thank
much
you.
more interactive than computer learning.
Yeah.
It's pattern interrupt as well because everyone's so used to all this technology. It's like when get on the Zoom thing, get on a live thing, and just start talking to people, giving away value. It doesn't
Well,
have to be, well, nobody's listening. Who listened to us when we first started this?
yeah,
I listened to you and you listened to me, and that was about it.
right,
And in the group too, we talked to each other for a while.
right.
And then Monica, even though she thinks she came in, she doesn't realize that she came in way back when. She
Well,
just
I want to.
became aware of it later on.
That's true.
Yeah.
Uh, I just want to speak to the serving part again because this is so huge, and this you don't have to agree with what I approach this with, but here's what my thought was: is that because I've already tried something that was not working, and I was still struggling, and then this concept of why don't I just give away stuff and kind of wait for people, which is respecting their timeline. And then the argument, or my little, doubting Dan dude who sits on my shoulder here, and I got to punch him in the face once in a while, says, "You're not going to make any money." Well, I wasn't making any money anyway, and all I
Right.
did was double down on a new perspective and on a new method, because I thought, okay, well, I'll just wait because 6 months from now, if I continue to do what I'm doing, I'm still not going to make any money, right? Like that's where entrepreneurs get just so wrapped up in this. I got to just keep doing this, and they keep banging their head against the wall, and it's not working. And even on my in my masterminds calls every month we go through this. And I ask them two questions: what worked last month, and what didn't work? And then I say, do more of what worked and stop doing what didn't work. And it's pretty simple. And they're, wow, that's genius. Not that I'm a
So
genius. It's like, well, it's pretty simple, right? But that we don't do that. We just continue to do the same thing. So I just figured I'm just going to gamble on this and see what happens in 6 months from now and look back and analyze the data, because the data is already telling me that what I'm doing is not working.
okay, Joey, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And okay, I'm just getting started in this online world business thingy of digital e-commerce. And I don't have anybody. And so what do I do? How do I build a tribe? Where do I get a tribe?
We,
What do I do?
yeah, and the logistics of where to get the tribe is a different conversation. It's specific for other for the individual. But you're absolutely right. This is a big question, and if you're because you're asking this now in 2022, it's even more important because we could look at it from two perspectives. One is the theory perspective, or the real perspective, the real world thing, which is going on right now, which is that there's tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people coming online every single month,
Every day,
right?
Joe.
Every and they're doing the same thing, which means that the stuff that used to work, even though it was already saturated before the whole pandemic thingy, is even now it's totally drowned. Like everybody does the exact same thing. So that means that you're coming in, you're going, yeah, but I need this. But now you're going into a huge red ocean. It's completely filled with everybody doing the exact same thing, and you can't stand out. And you're only going to find out later that it's like this is not working. So it's a mindset, and unfortunately, you and I both see it happen every day
Yeah.
that the dream is sold. And what is easy to sell is hard to do. Think about that. What is easiest to sell is the hardest to do. And so that's
Right.
why what we do is not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. To show up and serve and give value, it's not easy. It's simple because what do you got to do? You got to jump into a group and answer somebody's questions and help them. Again, as you know, I spent months just helping people. And I would, many have heard this before. I'd get on a Zoom call, I'd go look, I'd fix it, I'd tell them what to do, I'd help them with their mindset, I'd change their funnel, their opt-in, their freebie and what they were giving and the value and taught them this one little thing that would move the needle for them.
Right.
And then they were
Exactly.
like, can I hire you? No. Can I look at your website? No. You got anything I can buy? No. But that's what they always said at the end of every call was, how do I work with you? How do I hire you? That wasn't my goal. And it's okay for that to be your goal, to show up and serve that somebody that's not selling. That's serving first, not selling. And then they're going to say, how do I work with you? What do you got? How do I, then you say, okay, I've got this thing you called Atlas or Elite or Dream Client Connection or Right Marketing Copy or all the things you've got. And it only
What are you
takes
calling your new thing?
my new thing. Um, it's so new. It's an umbo. I'm calling it the something other thingy. I'm calling it the opt-in squeeze landing page audit
Cool.
because that's the biggest thing we've seen forever is we look at landing pages, we look at the thing that they're trying to do. And so it's going to be so easy to go in and say, make this little tweak, change the headline, change the copy here. I've done it so many times. And by the way, the thing that they get, make sure that it gives them an immediate ROI and make sure that you've got the persuasive architecture on the page so that the first thing they see is this, 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 and this. And here's your bullet points, this, this, and this. And then when people hit the page, it's not going to be crickets. They're going to start to. So that's what it is. And I have to figure it out yet because we just kind of made it up last night and this morning, and I'll have it out in the next day or so.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be a long sequence and email and a cart closing and a complicated web page. I'm going to stick it on a page somewhere with a bunch of words and maybe make a video and say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I want to help as many people as I can. I want to help 10 people to figure this thing out. That's the first step that you need to go before you build long involved funnels and sales pages and autoresponder sequences and this and that and that. Here's the first thing. It goes back to Digital Marketer Labs years ago. Ryan Dice is, if you're going to ask somebody to get married on the first date, that's selling. But if you're like, hey, I think we're like kind of like-minded, why don't we go have a cup of tea and see if that works? And if we have a cup of tea and they're like, oh my God, that was a 2-hour cup of tea. What are you doing for dinner?
Right.
Instead of 5 minutes, it's like, geez, you showed up drunk and filthy and unshaven and you're foul mouthed. I got to go. That's the thing is it's like going back to what Marie said, let them get to know you first and give them your best stuff.
Yeah, and I want to speak to that too, Marie. If you're still here, hopefully, and everybody listening, please, if you're here on the live, I'd love to know hashtag live and hashtag replay if you're on the replay, just so it
We need some love. I don't see any love,
let's.
Joe. There needs to be some love.
Yeah, we'd love to some
I
love,
need some
thumbs up,
hearts
something like that.
flying and some cuddly teddy bears flying all over the screen. Come on, Monica. Let's go, Petra. Come on.
Um,
Where
One
were
of
we?
the ways this is how you serve, another way of serving and also helping you differentiate, eliminate competition and all that. And it's the unscalable way of doing things, but it also can hugely build your business quickly. Ask me how I know. And this is how you do it. It's like inserting yourself into the product. And again, easy is sold, which is like create a product, put it online, sell it evergreen, go sit on the beach and enjoy the rest of your life.
Hmm.
And
Yes,
sorry, but that's not going to happen.
but it's easy to sell, Joey.
It's easy to sell it, right? But what I'm doing is okay, it's maybe not as easy, but it's very lucrative and I get to choose anything that I want to do during the day, and decide how to when and how to deliver it. And here's
But
what
how
I
did
mean
you
by
do it,
this.
Joey? Did you start with, and Maria is still here, by the way. How
Cool.
did you do it? You didn't start with a whole bunch. You started with one person. You started with helping somebody and then helping somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, somebody else. We talked about it the other day. And by the way, Friday was your first call with Kajabi as a guest teaching people Dream Client Connection.
Right.
And we didn't talk 2.5 years ago about Scott. I'm going to build this. I'm going to do this. And then one day I'm going to
Right.
have a big company. They're going to have this. I'm going to help people and they're going to promote me and I'm going to build it. I'm going to fit. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to do that. You were like, no, let me just go help people and serve people. And you showed up and you showed up again. That's how you and I met. We
Right.
both showed up and helped people. And at one point it was like, wait a second. This dude knows what he's talking about. I like what he's talking about. And that's how you and I became best friends,
Yep.
was because we were out there serving each other in a heart-centered way. And now all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, we could talk to each other about anything. We can help each other with anything. We lift each other up and the magic that gets created in the energy of what we do, because you're like, go read this book, and I'll read the book. And then I'll say, have you read this book? And you're like, no, no, let's talk about this book. And
Yep.
somebody sends me a book and I read it. And we talk about that book. And then you're like, well, that reminds me of this and that and that and that. We're always talking about how do we help people. And people say the same thing about you over and over again is, Joey, you're always helping, you're always serving, and you didn't try and sell me anything. And that's how you sell. Not,
Exactly. That's how you sell. Like if you serve and don't sell, or another way of saying this one, number two, by the way, if you're just joining us, number two is serve, don't sell, is serving equals selling.
it
So
does.
it just automatically happens. But it's not about I'm gonna go serve today and expect sales. Like that's not the mindset. It's like
And,
who can I help
and
today?
And going back to Marie's question earlier of how do you figure out their timeline? You don't, because what happens is somebody's watching you. Hello, Garrett. Great to see you.
Nice to see you, Garrett.
Yeah, it is a great topic, Garrett, because when we find our dream client and we define who they are and we go and serve them, nobody else is doing that. Everybody else is trying to sell them something. And unfortunately, this is how anybody comes into a relationship in this day and age, with their arms crossed saying, I don't trust you.
Yeah, for
Prove
sure.
it. Prove it to me. Why? Why? Because, like most people that come to you, Joey, and join Atlas or Elite or one of your programs or your coaching or whatever it is, they come to you because they've been taken advantage of. They've been promised, sold a bill of goods. They spend their money, they spend all this time, and at the end of it, they're like, holy crap, I'm 2 years older. I'm 5 grand in debt. I'm further behind and I got nothing to show for it, but this is what I'm supposed to do. And they go, what did I do wrong? How did I fail? And like I
Yeah,
talked about earlier, I'm ready to throw in the towel and quit, when it's like, no, 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 no. Let's just do something that's really, really simple.
I think you brought up a really great point there
I did.
because
Do I get any
like
points for it?
the people that come into my world are jaded for sure. They've been taken advantage of and all that. And over the last couple of years, I've narrowly or totally defined like where they are in their mental state and what they're expecting. And you're right, they come with arms crossed, but it's even worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
And they come in usually, it's not everybody, but basically with I've heard you're a breath of fresh air, you're speaking this language, but they still don't trust me, right? They're like,
Yeah.
you're speaking your good
Yeah.
stuff here,
Yeah.
but I don't trust you. And I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. I totally understand that. And I'm like, and that's where the serving, don't selling came in. Okay. And number three, which was respecting their timeline, came
You're
in
really
because
getting good at that, Joey.
I'm going to be hired by, I'm going to take over Vanna White's
Very
thing.
nice job. And number 3 is, can I
And
buy a
this kind
vowel
of,
now, Joey?
pardon me,
Can I buy a vowel now?
listen to me for a second so I can finish this this thought. Um,
Okay, I'm
um,
ready.
see, I've already lost it now. Like,
I
where was I
know.
going with this? I don't know where I was going with it.
Joey,
Anyway,
I'm going to jump in here. What a shock, right? You are the epitome of serving, not selling. You show up and you where you were going, just in case. I keep track of you because you can't. You were talking about people come in, and even though you're a breath of fresh air, which you really are, be a commercial, Joey, a breath of fresh air.
thank
They
you.
still don't trust you. That's where you were going.
Yeah,
So take it
Joey's a
away.
breath of fresh air, and then on the back is like, but I still don't trust
Still
them.
don't trust you. Okay, come on, take that.
Okay, so here's where it
They
all
don't
kind of,
trust you yet.
if I back up and look at when I was kind of coming out of the dip, whatever you want to call it, my down phase, and getting more private clients, one-on-one clients, they would come to me and we'd have a discovery call and all that, and I do my thing, right? And so the first thing I did was, okay, I'm going to get rid of the objection handle question thingies. I'm just going to try and help them. And a few of them, quite a few of them, would say, whatever, I saw you in Kajabi, you can do this for me, whatever, like this and that. And how can you help me? So they were interviewing me, and a few of them even said, like, just so you know, like I'm interviewing a few other coaches and this and that, right? And so at that point, I said, that's cool. It's all right. Like, we've got 20 minutes and an hour. Let me help you. But do me a favor. Like, when they said to the point, like, so why are you different? Why should I hire you? All this kind of stuff. I said, don't, just do me a favor and go work with other coaches, because I'm not, I'm not in this competition thingy. And it just blew them away. They're
Yeah,
like, and so I go, if you ever want any help, just let me know. Come into my group, and even if you're working with somebody else, it's all good. Come into my group. But I just don't want to. And that might not even be a great idea because you got too many cooks in the kitchen and all that. I'm not saying I'm right, but that was the impetus of it. It was like, that's the beginning point of, like, wait a minute, I'm not here to sell this person anymore, especially if I'm being thrown into the ring. Okay,
yeah.
which one of you is the best, right?
Which one of you? Who do
And
I
so I, like,
choose?
that's not what I'm going to do. I'm here to serve. And so I let go of the sale. And I think that's a huge mindset shift. It was, let go of the money. And as soon as you let go of the money, guess what the universe delivers to you?
Yeah,
Um, and so I want to open up this other conversation piece here, talking to Marie's point, and a lot of other people's point here about, and what you said about, like, you're brand new, what are you going to do, and no money coming in and all that. Well, let's go back to um, the flywheel, right? Jim Collins and the flywheel. And
mhm,
this is hard. This is why it's not so easy to sell it. This is why it's like, well, I'm not going to do that because I can go over here and press a button and click funnels and boom, I'm making money.
yep,
Okay, but I'm telling you the truth, right? So the if you look at the flywheel, and if you do the work that we are always talking about every day, and you say, here's who I want to serve, here's the people I want to live with on a deserted island, and these are the amazing people, and I want to serve them, even if they aren't paying me. And how do I do that? And then they come into my world, they come into their world. You're pushing the flywheel, right? You're just giving it that huge push to get started, and then maybe one person opts in, or one person joins your group, or two people, or maybe 10. And you're like, well, I'll put out an offer and see what happens. Nothing happens. You're like, well, this kind of sucks. And then you pivot. Well, you're starting a brand new flywheel again. It's like,
mhm,
okay, but no, you continue to serve. And what ends up happening is 10 more people come in, and 10 more people come in, right? No sales. No sales are happening. But the flywheel is getting easier to push because now
mhm.
you're learning from the people, you're having conversations, you're getting marketing language. All that stuff happens, but it's no sales. But the flywheel's easier and easier and easier. And you don't see that happening. Just like you said, we don't see the dream client watching.
Mm-mm.
And that's the hard thing to sell. And people don't want that. But
Right.
that's the true secret of what has happened over for me, and that's what the timeline is. So going back to Marie's question, when is the timeline? So you come into my world in January of 2022 into my Facebook group, and Scott sits there and just watches. And he watches and he hears little pings of Atlas and pings of marketing copy and gets a couple of emails, doesn't do anything, maybe engages in a conversation, right? 6 months later, you decide, well, I'm going to try it. I'm going to buy Dream Client Connection or something like that. And you buy that and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool, right? And but in the meantime, there's other people who are coming in. And then Scott advances. And then maybe a year later, 6 months later, you decide, I'm going to upgrade to Atlas. All I see are now Scots, right? Buying Dream Client Connection or coming into Atlas. And I'm like, this is pretty awesome. Every time I put in an offer, I get people. But that doesn't happen until the flywheel begins to gain momentum.
And Joey, you built a wonderful flywheel. We built the club, and people come in and they watch and they listen. And now it's gotten to a point where you don't even have to sell because Lorna talks about it. And Lorna and Monica and Petra and Marie and Daniel and the list goes on. And Kali, who are like, this has changed my life. You don't even have to.
Well, yes, but you see, that's the comparison though, Scott. That's what I want to try to get away from is when people look at our business or anyone's more successful or whatever and think like, well, that's what you have and that's how you got there, and they don't see how we built McDonald's. We don't see how Coca-Cola was built or all those other things, right? And this is why I want to have this conversation
Yeah.
because it is very difficult. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to call the elephant out in the room, and but it's like, do you want to struggle? Because you and I both, if people don't know this already, you need to know it. Like, and of course, I'm saying it like, why should you trust me? But we give a crap about people, right? Like we care. We care. We're not trying to hold in. Well, I'm not going to tell them that because that's going to compete
No.
with me. Or we have an abundant mindset, you and I, and all we want to do is see people succeed,
Yeah. When
and people feel that.
you give them everything you've got. We give them everything we have. Like you said,
Yes,
there's no holding back on it. And when you do that, you can't give them everything because if I give somebody everything I've got, I get more. Like you said, the abundance thing. If you just, give and give and give and you don't focus on the money, then all of a sudden it's going to be like, well, you're doing this for all the right reasons. So let's give you some money.
right. And inserting yourself into your new brand new landing page opt-in page thingy is you. So there's maybe someone else is doing it. I know people are doing what I do, coaching and this and that, but
Yeah.
it's me, right? It's and that's where Marie and anybody else listening to this is how you differentiate. There, no one can be you. Period. Period. And if you,
Nobody's been on your journey.
pardon me,
Nobody's been on your journey. Nobody's figured out what you figured out along the way. Like you said, McDonald's. Well, I can eat a McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or Hot Now or Checkers or the list goes on, and everybody has their own flavor. Yeah, there's probably if I searched for online marketing coaches, there's probably more than Joey Ragona come up.
yes,
And you wouldn't even come up because you haven't even messed with keywords. So online marketing coaches only has 50,400,000 results.
right,
There's only 50 million. Let's just take 10% of it and call it 5 million. Let's take 10% of that and call it a half a million. That's a lot of people to choose from. Why would you even try and compete with that when you could go out and do what we're talking about? Is going out, and for those of you that are just joining or at the end of it, go into Heart Centered Marketing Club, and you can put the link up there, Joey, if you wouldn't mind, for those people that may not have it, and learn how to build a tribe first. And look at this tribe because that's what was done. Was this tribe was built first? It's like somebody came in and watched a bunch of our shows, and when they were interviewing you and said, you know what I loved about the show? You guys don't sell anything.
right,
All you do is just serve and give value. We mention things from time to time, but it's like, okay, Joey, we're 5 minutes past 8 and we didn't do the call to action and the webinar is coming to an end and people are dropping off the call. we've got to make the call to action now. We've got to do the value stack, and we've got to do the close and the thing and the that. And maybe somebody's like, God, this was amazing. This is what I've been waiting for. This one little piece that is going to make a difference in my life tomorrow. And then they have a little bit of momentum, a little forward motion. Somebody learns for the first time that chocolate is actually good for you if it's done the right way, and that it's not this, and their mindset changes. And they get a small little ROI from your freebie, and they start singing your song in their head. Just a little tune, a little tweak that one day becomes a full-blown song, and then they're like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm in.
This is why dream clients are so important, though, Scott, because when you talk about the superpower matrix, right, and we insert that into our marketing, and that's how you differentiate is how do I insert myself into this product and so that dream clients are coming in because they're not buying your product, they're not buying the thing. If they're buying chocolate recipes, they're not buying chocolate recipes. They're they have chocolate recipes to fill a job, and the
Yep.
job is something different, right? We
Yep.
talked about jobs before, jobs theory. Go back into the archives of of these shows, and you'll see us talk about jobs, and we probably do it again. But it's not they're not buying the recipes. And even if you look at if I wanted to be a chef or something like that, well, I could buy a chef's course, or I could go hire Gordon Ramsay or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And that's a completely different experience, and I'm going to pay a lot of money to go
Right.
into that exact same course that he's going to show me how to make awesome scrambled eggs, but it's a different vibe, right? It's a different way of doing it, and maybe I'll get the tip even faster. And that's where this is very, at least in my world and what I like to teach and help people elevate their business very quickly with premium dream clients and all that, instead of trying to figure out how do I just set it and forget it and buy into that dream. And it's the world is has changed already. It has already changed. And if you don't see that, please zoom out and take a look, because everything is the exact same. And the consumers that were not even in our world, in the online world, uh, are now even exposed to the same funnel thingy. Oh, I got to put my email in. I got to go do this. And right? Where,
Yeah, and what's happened now, Joey, is again, and I think there's 7 billion people on the planet, and there's only like a little more than half that are actually online. And every year there's so many more, and every day there's so many more coming on. And they're coming on, they're going onto Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and that, and they're getting pixel retargeted, and they're getting hit with all these ads, and it's like all of the hype beat. The hype stuff is like, oh, you can, have this yacht and these mega things and this car and that, and you just have to give us $29, and then you're up in the funnel, and you got to buy the $2,000 course really to make anything work. And then they run across a Joey, and they're like, oh, you're a breath of fresh air, Joey, and I don't trust you. But then after a while, they start to trust you, and then that trust is built, and that becomes a lifelong
yeah,
experience.
and you're doing the same thing, like it's like, so how do you build the trust? How do you do it?
You show up, you provide value, you serve them, and you give them results. You
But I'm
change
not
them.
making any money.
So what? You will.
And so
Somebody
where does that come from?
by just continuing to do it. And you have offers, you have things available. I guarantee you show up and serve, and you give value, and you change people's lives and their mindset, and you give them structure, and you give them purpose, and you give them accountability. All of a sudden, they're going to go, I want more of this. What do you got? They're going to ask you, what do you got? And you say, well, I happen to have this coaching program. I have this or that or this or that. Or we can work one-on-one. We go back to Alec Hermosian's $100 million offers. Well, you can work with me, and I'll help you do all this stuff that you need help with. It'll cost you this. Or you can go into my program. You can read my ebook for $7. You can have my little thingy for 20 or 100 or 500, whatever it is.
Hmm. What are the three lessons? Can you repeat them back so anybody just joining us now can?
Oh, and by the way, Lorna said that no, Van, it's Brendan who's the post-it revealer king, and she's right.
Yeah,
Brendan,
we talked about that right at the top.
oh,
I think you pointed that one out.
yeah, I did. So the first one that we've been talking about this evening is you have to build a tribe first. And that tribe gets built one person at a time. You don't build it. Thank you very much for the visual, Joey. I appreciate that. Number two is serve, don't sell. And when you serve, you are actually selling. And number 3 is respect their timeline. As always, Mr. Ragona, excellent choice of topics this evening, and I think we need to have more of the visual presentation. I think the audience really enjoyed it this evening.
I'll do my best. Yeah, this is a lot of artwork, Ruby, man.
Maybe we need to hire Monica to do the
Yeah,
artwork.
we'll get visuals from Monica next time.
There you go, Monica. You're ascending now. Just not visuals for the show itself. Now you have to provide Joey his visuals.
There you go.
There's a whole other business for Monica.
Yep.
Forget about the high-tech stuff. Visuals by Monica.
Online visuals, non-techie visuals for online people.
There you go.
Like that.
Non-techie visuals for online marketers. It could be a thing, Joey.
TM.
By the way, Joey, not only do I now keep a copy of my superpower matrix, I keep a blank copy of the superpower matrix.
Love it.
Because when I start talking to people, I was like, you got to have the superpower matrix first before we can talk any further.
Right on. This is amazing. Thank you, everyone, for being here. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Maybe we can meet sometime live. And thank you, everyone, for being here live. It was an amazing conversation, as always. And thank you for playing along with our guessing game today. It was amazing. We love you all. And we are here every single Tuesday for Marketing Made Easy. And wherever it goes, we should come up with some kind of acronym or something like that. Marketing mindsets, whatever. Come up with something.
Okay.
Maybe change it up.
Play with it this week. Marie, you're so welcome. Thank you for being with us and playing along at the home game. Lorna, thanks always for being here. Petra and Monica and Kali and all the others who chose not to share.
Garrett was here.
Garrett. Yep. Forgot about Garrett. Thanks.
Scroll up and see who else was here. But yeah, Petra, we gave the props there. So thank you. We will see you next week.